Good day and welcome back to my exploration of paradise. Um, Welcome, and I hope you're enjoying exploring my conception or vision of paradise, um, as well as exploring yours while I'm exploring mine. So that's a part of this too, is that I hope to inspire and um, ignite that fire in others, so that they do the same, explore your idea, um, perfect crystal vision of paradise, and see where that takes you. So I've been talking in the last couple of videos about this free flowing creative energy that is also sometimes manifested as sexual energy in relationships, or just the individual, within the individual, and then without the individual in the form of relationships. So I just wanted to add a very important aspect to it, and part of it, and reason why I'm emphasizing this so much is because in my paradise there will be such a, I guess, relevance, importance, emphasis on the free flow of creative energy, because it is creative energy that we're talking about. I hinted at this from the beginning of my talk on how, a baby or another human being is brought into this world. Of course, it's by creative energy. So that also hints at when we've decided for ourselves and collectively what kind of a world we want to live in. Do we want one of destruction or one of creativity? And we can use this life force energy creatively or destructively. So, yes, some have taken it and turned it into something more constructive, like it is used irresponsibly, or in a wounded person that needs healing. Often that energy expresses itself and is manifested in a very destructive way, or there's all shades of gray in this too. People that use it somewhat destructively, and then sometimes they use it in a more creative way. But when I use that word creative, it has to do with creation itself. We are living in a creation, and so if we're going to create paradise, then an important part of that is embracing the creative potential, and first of all being aware of it and understanding it, and then embracing it and utilizing this creative primal life force energy that we have. And it's also primal, meaning prime. That's where you start from. It's not something that's an afterthought later. Like, people might say to me, well, Greg, why are you talking so much about sex? Well, first of all, people need to ask themselves why they might have a problem with that. Is it because they have their own hang-ups or issues with sex inside themselves that they need to address? Possibly, not necessarily. They might just be asking me an honest question, like they're just wondering, why are you talking so much about sex? And as it relates to paradise, well, that might be self-explanatory for many, but to answer that question that some may have, I believe I've already answered it, but just to reiterate that we're talking about creating paradise. We need to create it. It doesn't just fall at our lap, by accident. It's not an accident. In a sense, it's almost like physics. Some may say metaphysics or hidden physics or secret physics, whatever, but it's just like a type of physics that we don't usually think about or have yet to be aware of. But that's a part of it. So it's really just kind of a physics where, where we put our attention, the creation follows from where we put our attention, because we're putting energy. Attention has to do with energy and manifestation. When you're sleeping and dreaming, and then you sometimes have a lucid dream, or may have, you will create the dream according to wherever you put your attention, what you're thinking about, focusing on. And because you're lucid and aware in the dream, you also can potentially become aware of, oh, I'm experiencing the kind of dream scenario that I'm in right now because that's where I put my attention. So then if you don't necessarily desire that, or it's not much fun, then you quickly shift your attention. And mystics and seers and just, metaphysical investigators in the past have said that, they do investigations into people's deep meditation and trance and hypnosis, where they are able to channel an experience before they were born into a physical body, or what some call the afterlife, in between lives. And some have said when they're able to seek and sort of retrieve that information of what they experienced there, many have said that they just create things instantly according to their thoughts. So anyways, in this reality, we do the same, except there's this time lag. That's the only difference. We have this time lag. So we're going to be creating paradise by where we put our emphasis, our focus, attention, the kind of vision and thoughts that we dwell on. And that's part of the reason why I'm also doing this exercise, because I intend to create paradises for myself and others. It's like I said, it's a collaboration, collective thing. So if we're all focusing on our personal visions of paradise, I believe that will happen within us, and then outside of us. at some stage in our lives. And so we'll experience our own personal paradise, and then sometimes elements of it will overlap with others. So then that's where you cross and share experiences with others. It crosses over, and then in other ways it doesn't. So then you don't maybe share certain aspects of your idea of paradise with them. But I feel like that's kind of how all this is going to come together and work. So I just wanted to emphasize the importance of allowing the creative energy to do its thing, and let it flow, and in all of its ways of doing that, or manifestations or expressions, to let it flow. And other ways that people can enhance it and allow the creative energy to flow is by doing artwork. You can do your kind of art, whatever that is. Just sit down, and if you used to draw when you were a kid and you enjoyed that, like I did, I would sit there for hours at a time and just draw picture after picture, just let it flow freely and not, so you're kind of like, when you're doing that, you're shutting down, this thing, the brain, and at least limiting it more, sort of like not letting it take the lead, but it's still there, doing its thing, but you're leading it. And then you're just allowing that creative energy to come out without interfering with it, with the brain, with the mind. So that will also be a huge part of my idea of paradise, is people not letting their ego mind get in the way of their bliss, from experiencing the bliss that's available, and just receiving it and not blocking it. So that gives you a big clue as well as to how to live in paradise. And this is coming from somebody that tends to fall into the intellectual traps and tendencies and whatnot. So I recognize that, we need to sort of overcome the mind and the overactivity of the mind in order to have bliss. We talk ourselves out of bliss all the time. We talk ourselves into hell. We convince ourselves that we can't have bliss because of this or that. And these are just thoughts, they're ideas, they're beliefs that we need to look at very carefully. And if they're beliefs that lead to hell, or let's say a lack of bliss, something other than bliss, then are they worthy of our attention? Should we really be entertaining those beliefs, ideas? In my opinion, no, we shouldn't. We should be doing away with those types of thoughts and worries, and just recognizing them for what they are, that they're not the truth of our being. Our soul is pure joy and bliss and love and creative. It just wants to keep creating. It truly doesn't want to be negative and destructive, and it isn't. And remember that in our third dimensional physical type of ego, persona, body / a whole bunch of other things, but you get it. What I'm saying is it tends to just keep repeating certain bad habits and that lead to misery. So if we can knock ourselves out of those bad habits somehow, and that can happen in a variety of ways, but we can do it intentionally, by creating more creative, constructive habits that lead to unity rather than division and separation. So there's going to be total unification within and without in this paradise I'm talking about. Oneness. And just to be clear, for me, oneness is through diversity. It's not everybody's the same, that we all talk the same way and we have all the same likes and personal interests and so on. No, it's that we recognize the differences in others and we actually celebrate those differences wholeheartedly. We appreciate that others have their own personal desires and unique expressions, and sometimes we share them, so they're not always unique. But what I'm talking about specifically now is that when they have things that are very unique to them, that we honor that, and we also, at the same time, as we're recognizing these differences, we have merged that with the truth that we're all one, that we're one and the same thing. We're made of the same stuff. We come from the same source. We're at the highest planes of reality and vibration and consciousness. Or celestial spheres, as some may refer to it, the celestial eternal spheres. We're all there right now, in the now, in this reality, unified as one, or as close to it as possible. And then you might say that Source, himself, herself, itself, I don't like to say it, because it's less personal, but let's say Source herself is the ultimate oneness, where there is absolutely no distinction between this and that person or any duality whatsoever. So, and no separation, however you want to put it, complete unification. So that'll always be the driving force in my paradise, is upholding unity, embracing unity and oneness all the time, while still enjoying our uniqueness and individual interests, again, as always, merged with the golden rule, which is very simple, and it's related to what I just said about one, that all are one. So I just wanted to say, for the rest of the video here a little bit more about the spiritual side of my paradise. First of all, it'll be a very spiritual oriented world, but when I say that, it's not going to be like probably most people's, or many people's anyway, idea of spirituality, because it's going to be truth, complete truth, not just something spiritual because it's not physical. And yes, there is a certain truth to that, but then there's been misconceptions, I believe anyway, with that when you get spiritual, and this is part of I think the problem, it becomes a problem for some people, or more of a crutch, to say, well, I'm spiritual and therefore I have no interest in the physical. If you listen to folks, or give any credit to folks like Ismael Perez, for instance, and I've mentioned him before, and I'm not here to advertise or promote anybody else. I'm just telling you what, he's somebody that I happen to have been reading his material recently and listening to some of his videos, and I've listened to many others, and still, and it's just what resonates with me. I'm not attached to anybody in particular. But anyways, he said that, now I lost my train of thought. See, I can do that once in a while. But maybe it'll come back to me if I just start talking again. But about the physical elements in the different levels of creation or dimensions. So he said that we remain physical, what we would see or understand as physical elements, at least physical bodies. We will still have physical bodies right up to, I believe he said, the 9th dimension or something like that, and as you're probably aware, we're kind of in the 3rd or 4th right now in this transition and shift, ascension. But he also says that, when we get to the 5th dimension, that we'll still be physical in the sense that, we have bodies that are subject to certain physics and laws of the universe, but there'll be different laws. We'll have bodies that are more, let's say, permanent, more made of finer, more eternal substance, like more immortal. And that has to do with our light body becoming like fully activated. And so if you haven't ever studied anything or listened to people talk about the light body, then I would highly recommend you look into that, what they're talking about, what it's all about. But I'm going to end this video now because I think it's going to cut off pretty quick, but I will continue talking about the spiritual aspects of my paradise in the next video, and I thank you very much for listening.